Is on the line right now. $350. It's the Hilbica Law Firm's free money question of the day. It's going to be our last one of the season, and we're taking the summer off. And so I have $350 left, so we're going to give it all away to one person.
You're taking the summer off?
No. I was thinking about that. It'd be a nice thing to do. I'd like it. And, of course, Christine's final official day in studio is Friday. She'll be on the air with us for another month or so, we believe. And that's sad, isn't it, Joe?
Very sad. Christine has been not only a great asset to the show, but great member of the community. So we're going to really miss her.
Thank you.
Wish you well, though, and I know you're doing it for families, and we understand that. So congratulations on a great run here, and good luck.
Thank you.
That just leaves Mo, Larry, and Curly on their own.
Yeah, this could be really bad. Yeah.
Who's who is the question.
It's just
Well,
gonna be
at
fun.
least the senator's here every morning for us to call on when we need him. That's important. Anyway, you've been busy, Joe.
On demand. Huh?
On demand.
It's like, now I know what it means.
You've been quite busy. So, in a nutshell, before we get to Greeley, the pros and cons, the positives and negatives out of this session.
Well, there's a lot to look back on, and we have to do that in a show. If you want, I'd be more than willing to come back and talk about all of them. But we had some good things that were done during the budget process, which was in March. But at the end of session, the combating heroin, I think we did some significant things there. Ending zombie properties, trying to deal with the zombie properties that many local governments have. More money in housing, more capital in the SUNY system. I think both of those are very important. Breast cancer awareness, that was a very important thing to try to combat breast cancer. Governor had a personal stake there because Sandra Lee had been diagnosed. Yep. So that was done.
Almost
ethics,
seemed like the governor on that, I remember it's a State of the State. It almost seemed like he had a heart. You remember in the Grinch where the heart began to warm and melt, and I don't know.
I'll let you describe that.
Okay, you don't want to jump in on that?
Well, I don't mind, but right now, so the other aspects were pension forfeiture, ethics reform. There were several items in that, pension forfeiture being the biggest element of that, along with trying to deal with some of the independent expenditures as a result of Citizens United, which is more of a federal law. So that was done, and I still don't like the way the session ends. I mean, we were there almost throughout the last week, late hours of the morning. In fact, the last day, again, going in at about 10 in the morning, coming out the next morning at 4. Yeah. It just makes it so difficult for people to be clear in their heads where you're looking at everything and in debate and everything. So I think we got to do that differently and better. Still a lot of things that have to be done to improve. Fantasy sports was dealt with. Uber was not dealt with because you couldn't get an agreement with both houses. Trying to just kind of remember everything off the top of my mind right now.
And what is it? The fantasy sports basically is going to mean the state's going to get their cut.
Yeah, and it's allowed to stay here now too.
Yeah.
You know, where the Attorney General got involved in that and really had told them they had shut down in New York State. I actually met the guy, which was interesting. The guy from DraftKings was in my office. Legislation to test lead in schools, which is very important, and money to help do that, so it's not just an unfunded mandate. So I think NYRA, New York Racing Authority, that was extended. So there were a lot of things done at the end that I think were important. Still many other things that are equally as important that have to be done and will have to be addressed as we move forward. There could be an additional session before the end of the year, and if not, when we get back the first part of the year before the budget, I think you'll see more and more of that happening now. And I'll segue into this because I know you're going to talk about it. There was some changes into the with the alcohol beverage and control law and updating that, which I think is very important to improve safety at railroad crossings because we've had a lot of accidents there. So there was some legislation to deal with that too.
Busy time. And then the issue, the one that was really important to me and we've talked about is that issue of the
statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations on pedophiles, convicted sex criminals.
I think there was movement because there had, again, the problem, when you have 213 members of the legislature, everybody seems to want to attack it from a different perspective, like the ride-sharing situation. So I think the encouraging thing here is there's an acknowledgement of the significance and importance of dealing with the issue. The problem, again, is there were several different ways that people wanted to go about it. And I think that's where the governor could come in and be more helpful. In the past, he's been able to do that, to bring everybody in and say, look, we got to focus on this and get it done. You have an idea, this person has an idea, but in the end, we got to get something done. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get there on that. Even on mayoral control of New York City, it was only a 1-year extension. That's tough to go from year to year, but there also has to be some accountability there too. So many of those type of issues, I believe, there is an interest and a desire to deal with. The question is, what is the way we come to commonality to find an answer? It's like the ABC laws, which we'll talk about here too now. There was movement, but there was problems.
It's going to be like 10 o'clock, right? I mean, they can serve starting at 10 if the governor signs this thing.
The governor, I think, will sign it because he was involved in it, but it's also limited how many times you can do that. It's not carte blanche. You can only do it, I think, 12 or 18. I'm trying to remember now. You have to apply for permits in order to do that.
It's not a
blanket carte blanche. So there's an opportunity to do this, but
what is the only reason I can come up with that alcohol is not served on a Sunday morning is religious based.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat that. I mean, the old blue laws I think have been done away with.
Which were religious based.
Most of that was cultural or religious, but I think there's some points that are made. I'll tell you what tough thing for me the other night. And everything came to you quick. It's like even pieces of legislation like fireworks and things that's all hitting you as the session unwinds. And Greeley remembers this from being there for a year or so, I think at least. But the alcohol in movie theaters. Now, I really struggled with that. I was willing to do that because, you know me, I'm pretty saying let's expand and allow flexibility here. But then I heard one senator talk about Senator Savino, who sponsored the bill. I said, it looks good. I was ready to vote. And then another member got up and said, that's one of the only places you can go right now when you have children, too. And it's an alcohol-free thing. And now you're going to put alcohol in the middle of that, and you're watching a movie, and if you get some idiot that shows up and has a few beers and starts getting obnoxious. So I voted no in the end to allow the sale of the alcohol during the movie.
Did that fail?
It passed.
It did pass. I think.
Now, I don't know that it passed in the Assembly, though. Passed the Senate. Some of the bills did not pass both houses, and we have to rectify that.
I'm back to that personal responsibility. If you can't handle yourself, then you should be kicked out. Well,
the question on that is, I would be okay with it if somebody was monitoring the theater, say. So if you go there for your family.
Well, they'll have a liquor license. They're going to have to monitor it.
Well, but I mean, if I'm talking about ushers coming in, what if somebody gets obnoxious in the middle of the movie, or I think back to how people used to go to the drive-in.
It happens without alcohol, just for the record. What from the gum chewer to the candy opener to the person who wants to talk along to the movie. I mean, it is just incredible. There's those people that like. So you'll see something happen, and it was just a recent movie this year I saw. The woman, oh, don't you go there. Do not. Oh, no, you're going there. I don't think. It's like, just let me watch the movie. And that was without cocktails, Joe. So imagine. All right. Speaking of cocktails, this is big news with Greeley Ford here.
Yeah, it's great news. This was an opportunity. We also had hundreds of nominations that came through the legislature. As you know, the Senate has confirmation power, so the governor, it's advising consent, and the governor makes an appointment, and the Senate has an opportunity to examine and determine whether or not to confirm. Most of the time, confirmation happens. This time, we had several big department heads, like the commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation, the Commissioner of Labor, the Department of State. So there were a number of both department heads and boards and authorities. The MTA, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority in New York City. You'll have to bear with me. I'm still kind of trying to readjust after the last week. So one of those, and we've been very fortunate, I think, here. We're seeing some of our people from the central New York area get to some of these policymaking boards. So the opportunity presented itself with the State Liquor Authority. It came to my attention that they were looking for a third member. There's only 3 members from the State Liquor Authority, and that governs all the liquor policy, the licensing policy, and alcohol beverage and control policy in the state. So the governor had to make the nomination, but the Senate had to confirm. And at this, I took the opportunity of submitting a name to the governor's office, and that name was Greeley Ford. We were talking about this, and I thought, wow, a guy like Greeley would be great. I had to sell him on it, called him, but he is a great public servant. We all know that he's extremely talented, not only as a musician, but in his business life and his community service. So I talked to Greeley. He said he would be interested, and then we went to work, and the governor accepted looked at the resume of the governor and honored the suggestion. He made the nomination of Greeley as a member of the State Liquor Authority, and we confirmed him at the the great hour of 12:25 a.m. I actually texted him at that point. I don't know if you were sleeping then, Greeley, or not, but I did text
Thursday
you.
night, right?
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Who
Thursday
knows
night,
how they all came into one another?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, what night did we actually do it? What morning was it? But he was confirmed unanimously. Did not even have to appear, which he said he would be willing to do because many of the members, in fact, former Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy got named to this as a trustee of the State University of New York.
Cool.
And he appeared on teleconference to talk to the members of the Senate. So, yeah, we're very proud of Greeley, and he's already got his homework, and this is an important board.
So
because,
what?
it's only a three-member board.
3 members. You'd be a commissioner on the Board of Alcohol. What's it called again? State Liquor Authority, and otherwise known as the board that prevents people from opening up businesses. So I'm hoping that we can do something to alleviate the backlog. Why is it so hard for these guys for somebody to open up a bar? It's just crazy, isn't it?
Well, I'm just learning, obviously.
Yes.
And
we're not blaming you yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yet is the
You're giving me a
operative.
week. Thank you.
Yes. But you hear these stories. I mean, you work in the business. I mean, you hear these stories about people like, I've opened this place up and it's been 6 months. I still don't have a liquor license.
Yeah. Well, I got my first package for the caseload for hearings tomorrow. So I'm going to my office. I have an office now in Albany.
Okay, nice.
And they're going to teleconference me into the hearings in New York City. Since this was such a last minute, we just felt that since it's the first hearings after my confirmation, I should probably be there.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of time to get prepped for it. But in the package that I got, it was like 80 pounds worth of paperwork I got this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And as I'm reading through it, making notes to get myself mentally prepared to ask some relevant questions, it looks like there's a lot of back and forth questions about why are you here, relevant to the community. It's got to be in the public interest. I see objections from other liquor stores to licenses. I see people who haven't kept to their commitments, and that's why their licenses are being revoked.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of little give and take like that. So hopefully I'll get better at it. But as I told Joe, my perspective is I'm pro-business.
You are, and I think that's the perfect person to have in there. And we love the fact that you're local and you're Greeley Ford. Having you there, you realize.
I have no other qualifications, by the way. Other than that,
have you
in a lot of bars?
Seen a lot of people drinking. You've had a few of your own.
And I've had a couple too. Yeah. So.
Joe, have you explained to him what life's going to be like now? I kind of was busting his chops over the weekend and texted him and said, "Listen, I've just opened up this new bar, and I need a license by Monday. Do you think you can help me out?" You're going to get a lot of that.
Yeah. He told me I'd be hearing from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Joe also gave me some great advice, which is the same advice my dad gave me, which was, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
And trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, don't.
Well, I think if nothing more, Joe, Greeley Ford is known as a good person by everybody that knows him, and everybody loves him. That's you couldn't ask for a better choice.
Does that include Candace?
Yeah, especially Candace.
Okay.
Yeah. She's my number one cheerleader. Yeah.
I think obviously he's got a great reputation in our community. He's always been, from knowing Greeley now for a lot of years, a man of integrity. Hard worker. So that I was impressed that it came to me as I was thinking of names, and Greeley's name came to me, and he said yes, he would agree to serve again because he has served in the past. That was really encouraging.
What did you do in the past?
Exciting.
What did you serve in the past?
I worked for a year as a communications manager for Senator Nancy Lorraine Hoffman.
Oh, okay, you did.
So just
All right.
when I took a brief interlude between my wireless career.
Got it.
And speaking of that, I have to say, I'm still employed by AT&T, and they have been wonderful about it. As a matter of fact, the second thing I had to do after I had this conversation with Candace was obtain approval from work to do it.
Sure, yeah.
And so legal, everyone, PR, everything, literally, this is a pretty big ask. And I got to say, literally within half an hour, 45 minutes, I had to go ahead to do it. they responded right away.
Yeah.
It was great.
We've already gotten the press release from AT&T. All their stores are now serving alcohol.
Miraculously,
That's
just
gonna be
coincidental the way that worked
I'll have
out.
to recuse myself from, you know.
That's going to make that experience so much more pleasant.
And
Have a cocktail while you're waiting for your phone.
That's right. I love it.
And Greeley also is the only member from upstate of the 3-member commission, which is important too, because one is from the city, the other is from the Hudson Valley. So Greeley now is truly the upstate person that gets a better idea for our geography and what it's the way of life here, you know, North Country, Central New York, Western New York,
it's
Southern
funny you
Tier.
should say that, because as I was looking through the paperwork yesterday, a lot of the applications and things are down in New York City. So I've been doing Google Earth just to get a better picture of, you know, where the place is, what's around it, where's parking, that kind of stuff. But some of the applications, like there was one from Cheektowaga. Well, I know Cheektowaga pretty well because I'm in Buffalo all the time. So I didn't have to look that up, and I know exactly where it is. So
That's
that
nice.
kind of perspective I can give to, you know, reviewing these applications.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Joe, you made, I think, a great choice. And he will be our upstate ambassador, I believe, and somebody who we know is going to be really fair.
Well, he'll be a great asset to the authority. That's the
I
key.
agree.
I mean, no matter, he's not going to bring any thing but his talent and skill, and that's as you said. And I think that's what we need in government right now, and particularly in something like this where there's a lot of interaction. So we're proud of Greeley. I'm so glad he accepted, and I'm glad that he was confirmed, a unanimous confirmation. That didn't happen with all the nominees, by the way, that day. 2 days that we were doing a lot of that. So
And how fitting is it that my first gig after being confirmed is Saranac Thursday?
Okay, let's talk about that. Saranac Thursday. You guys, Classified will be at Saranac Thursday, this Thursday night.
This Thursday, yes.
Really
So
excited about that.
we're hoping that it doesn't rain. I've been
Oh,
looking
you're
at
gonna
the
have great
forecast, and it's saying the only day this week that looks like rain is that day. But, you know, a lot can happen between now and then.
All right, Greeley, nice job. Congratulations, Joe. Thanks so
guys.
much.
look forward to coming back.
Andrew, can we squeeze out with a quick opportunity for somebody to win? Caller number 2 right now, 7360186. Chance to win $350 in cash, as I said I would. Right now, caller number 2, 7360186. Mohawk Honda is your number 1 volume dealer north of New York City. North of New York, they're number 1. Nick Bonarigo is the general manager. He's from here, and he is ready to sell over 600 vehicles in June. Mohawk Honda is number 1 ranked by dealer rating. The Mohawk Honda sales and service staff are recipients of Honda's President's Award Elite for their excellence in customer service. If you're looking for a great vehicle, the MXP program is perfect. It'll get you into a new vehicle for the same or lower price payment. Pretty awesome. It's Mohawk Honda, Route 50 Glenville. Mohawk Honda going out of their way to please you each and every day. Our contestant is Ryan in Utica. Ryan, for $350. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, here's your question. You left 7 seconds. What toe-tapping Nashville venue was tapped as a National Historic Landmark?
Wait, can you repeat it? Mel, can you repeat it? I didn't hear you.
Okay, what toe-tapping Nashville venue was named a National Historic Landmark in 2001? Ready, go.
Grand Ole Opry.
Gotta go with the Grand Ole Opry. The obvious answer is what I would have given. It's the Ryman Auditorium.
Oh, what? I never even heard of such a thing.
Hell kind of question is that, Andrew? For God's sakes. All right, gotta go.
Last one of the season? Come on.
Hold tight.
Let's do another one.
Hold tight. I got a break. We're back tomorrow on WIBX.